Tonight, a woman arrested over a serious house fire in Whyalla last night, and COVID restrictions to further ease in South Australia from Thursday.
From our 7 Spencer Golf Studios, your nightly news with John Hunt begins now.
Good evening. A woman has been arrested after a blaze destroyed a Whyalla Stewart property overnight. Police say the incident was not random, and the damage bill is believed to be in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. Mark Zeta has more.
Emergency services were called to the property last night after initial reports of smoke near Quirk Avenue. Fire crews were on the scene just before 9:30 after receiving a 000 call. When they arrived, they found the house fully alight with smoke and flames visible. The Metropolitan Fire Service says it took 16 firefighters to extinguish the flames. The fire also caused damage to an adjoining property, but fire crews were able to prevent the blaze spreading to other nearby homes.
Firefighters managed to distinguish the fire within 30 minutes and stop the fire spreading to neighbouring properties. Nobody was home at the time and no injuries were reported.
Police returned to the scene this morning as they continued their investigation into the incident. A 35-year-old woman was arrested at a nearby property accused of lighting the fire. Police say they believe the incident was not random. She was charged with arson and refused bail. The estimated damage bill from the fire is around $150,000. Police are asking anyone in the area who noticed suspicious behaviour on the night of the fire to contact Crime Stoppers.
Our region has been rocked by its second fatal car crash in less than a week. A man has died after rolling his vehicle near Port Augusta on Saturday night, with authorities urging people to stay safe on the roads. Edward McCarroll has more.
Police and emergency services were called here to Commissary Point on Saturday night after reports of an accident along this stretch of road. They raced to Shack Road around 4:15 p.m, finding a single vehicle rolled over. Police and paramedics were on site to provide first aid to the injured driver. However, the sole occupant of the Holden Commodore sedan, a 33-year-old local man, died at the scene. Police closing the road to all vehicles, with major crash investigators attending and examining the scene.
At that location, police attended and located a man that had been ejected from the vehicle. They attempted CPR and SAS also attended, but unfortunately he died as a result of his injuries at the scene.
The crash comes just days after 2 people were killed on the nearby Augusta Highway. Police urging commuters to be attentive when travelling on the roads.
I think the number of lives that have been lost on our roads this year is something that people should be well aware of. And police are focusing every single day on our roads, particularly in rural roads, to try and ensure that people are driving safely.
Anyone who witnessed the crash and is yet to speak to police is asked to contact Crime Stoppers.
14 days since a hard lockdown was imposed on South Australia. Restrictions will further ease this week. Premier Stephen Marshall says while it's good news, authorities are still concerned with the increasing number of cases interstate.
Some good news for South Australia.
South Australia went hard. We went early and we now find ourselves in a very changed situation here in South Australia.
From 1 past midnight on Thursday, restrictions will ease with density caps raised to 50%. Gyms will allow 1 person per 4 square metres and sport competitions will return with restrictions on crowd limits. Restrictions that will not change include home gatherings, singing and dancing, and caps on weddings and funerals. There's also no change to the state's mask requirements.
We are still concerned. Yes, it has been 14 days, but if we have missed any cases in South Australia, we would be picking them up around about now, and so we really do need to just be a little bit careful for the next couple of days.
Local business owners say the last 2 weeks have been tough, but there is hope in sight.
It's a step. It's not the answer, unfortunately, but it is a step, because obviously operating at the capacity we are now of 1 in 4, 25%, it's not profitable, and we couldn't go on for too many weeks like that.
Authorities remain on high alert as New South Wales records 207 new local cases today and Queensland's Delta outbreak worsens, urging South Australians in Queensland to come home.
If they can return to South Australia now, this would be our advice. We don't know what this week is going to hold in Queensland.
Katrina Musson, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
A man was arrested on Friday after allegedly breaching COVID-19 directions. It's alleged just before 12 p.m, police located a man travelling through Cook. They discovered he had entered SA from Victoria, allegedly avoiding the border checkpoint. The man had also previously been in New South Wales, which he had declared on a cross-border application which had been declined. Police believe he was trying to enter Western Australia and his car had broken down. There were 207 local cases in New South Wales today, with Victoria tightening its border bubble in response. From 11:59 p.m. tomorrow, Broken Hill locals will only be able to enter Victoria for one of these 6 reasons. Spectators for sporting events are no longer permitted, and family visits are also banned without a permit. Border bubble residents will only be able to travel as far into Victoria as reasonably necessary for those essential reasons. Still to come tonight, Kindred Living residents racing against time to find a new home, and calls for a weather radar to be installed on the Eyre Peninsula. Welcome back. While families are still reeling from the news, the Annie Lockwood Aged Care Facility will close later this month. One relative says the process of relocating his elderly father outside the city will be difficult.
It was a decision that devastated families. Kindred Living announcing last Friday the closure of its Annie Lockwood Aged Care Facility later this month. 37 residents now forced to move elsewhere, possibly outside of Whyalla.
I'd struggle to go out of town to see my mum or dad or whoever, or same with other people as well, or work commitments, it'd be hard.
Mark Cunningham was informed after his brother received an email from Kindred Living on Thursday night. His elderly father, one of those residents, now looking for new accommodation.
It was a bit of a shock for sure, because mum's in Yeltana and dad's in Annie Lockwood, so there's a chance they could be separated.
Mr. Cunningham posted the letter on Facebook, raising awareness of what was going to happen to his father and other residents. Kindred's CEO said on Friday the pandemic prevented them from organising a meeting to discuss the decision.
The best way to inform our resident staff and our families is by calling a group meeting, and we weren't able to do that because of the COVID restrictions at the moment.
Calls are growing for the federal government to increase the funding for the sector.
I think the federal government needs to put more money into the aged care, because we've got an ageing society and we're going to need a lot more aged care facilities in the future.
Mark Zeta, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Spencer Gulf residents are encouraged to surrender unwanted firearms, helping to reduce unregistered and illicit guns in the community. The firearm amnesty gives owners the opportunity to surrender items without fear of a penalty.
A call for people to surrender their firearms. The National Firearms Campaign aimed at helping keep the community safe.
If people in the far north have a firearm that they no longer want or need, then they can hand it into the local police station or a participating licensed firearms dealer.
Compensation is not offered for surrendered items, but provides an opportunity for owners to dispose of their weapons safely.
The amnesty provides an opportunity for people to hand in those firearms without any fear of penalties.
People can remain anonymous when surrendering their collection for destruction.
Protection of the amnesty is only available if a person surrenders it to a police station or a licensed firearm dealer.
People found with an unregistered one outside of the amnesty conditions face a hefty penalty, which includes a fine of up to $35,000 and imprisonment of up to 7 years. Police say illegal firearms pose a significant threat to the community.
And we do know that people actively target these sort of firearms so they can use them for criminal purposes.
Inspector Phil Kataris saying regional areas have a high number of people owning firearms. Further information can be obtained from the SA Police website and Crime Stoppers. Dylan Smith, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
A woman will face court after being detected travelling 60 kilometres over the speed limit in the state's mid-north. Just before 5:30 Saturday morning, Port Pirie Police detected a car travelling at 170 kilometres an hour in a 110 zone on the Augusta Highway near Crystal Brook. A 25-year-old Elizabeth Grove woman was reported for numerous driving offences and her vehicle was impounded. And a man's licence has been suspended for a year after being caught drink driving in Port Augusta yesterday. At around 4 a.m, patrol stopped a car on Old Power Station Road. The driver, a 38-year-old local man, returned a positive breath test result of 0.159. Police also allege the man had his young son in the car with him. His car was impounded for 28 days and he will appear in court at a later date. There has been renewed calls for a weather radar to be installed on the Eyre Peninsula. Advocates say there is a huge grey area across the region, with the area's data being measured from as far away as Ceduna and Adelaide.
It's a sore spot for many on the Eyre Peninsula.
For a long time, we've been obviously in a black spot, a gap in the radar forecasting capability of the state and the nation, really.
The region's leaders calling for a new Doppler weather radar to be installed in the region. They say farmers, fisheries and other sectors would reap the benefits.
And at the moment, we're probably the only mainland area on the whole of Australia with a significant population and a huge primary industries that doesn't have Doppler radar coverage.
Mr Telfer says giving farmers localised, accurate and timely weather forecasts will help the day-to-day operations, also improving the efficiency of chemical and fertiliser application.
With weather ever changing and without the capability for us to be able to look at real-time data, it really does disadvantage us compared to many other places around the country.
Forecasts for the Eyre Peninsula are currently made using information from Ceduna and Adelaide-based radars. The Liberal candidate for Flinders concerned the grey area over the region may also hinder emergency services.
That decision-making can be made with real up-to-date data.
Dylan Smith, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Stay with us. Our region's green thumbs take part in National Tree Day. And Mid-North artists encouraged to take part in this year's Sala Festival. The Hospitality and Retail Union has confirmed it's begun legal proceedings against a franchisee of Broken Hill's McDonald's store. It's alleged at least 18 current and former workers didn't receive mandated paid drink breaks. The SDA calling the practice systemic, now accusing 20 stores of deliberately denying breaks.
Management would make it incredibly difficult for any worker to speak to someone from the union, and we know why.
McDonald's was contacted for comment. Communities across the country came together yesterday to green up their towns for National Tree Day. The day was especially important in the Sunset Strip, where wind and drought has caused extensive erosion, exposing Aboriginal cultural items.
In the far west, trees aren't just for appearances. Like the Regen Reserve in Broken Hill, Sunset Strip relies on plants to keep the dust down.
They're basically going to protect the area here from soil erosion, act as a windbreak and hold the soil together.
A small group of volunteers planting around 300 natives for National Tree Day. It's coming at a vital time as the village works to protect Aboriginal artefacts from being exposed to the elements.
They need to be protected, and it's not good if that just keeps on getting uncovered.
It's just one of the projects underway in the village. Upgrades to the community centre and war memorial recently completed, as was the installation of a new toilet block. The timing perfect as tourists flock to see Lake Menindee filling with water.
They just drive through and sticky beak and have, get out and walk around and just check out the water. And I think because it is a sight to see the water here. We've been dry for so long.
The population doubling to 75 permanent residents, locals hoping this time politics won't interfere and the lakes will remain full.
It's lovely to see the water, but you don't get attached to it because it doesn't stay long.
Lachlan Itter, 7 Spencer Golf News.
South Australians are being urged to get their nominations in for this year's Agricultural Town of the Year award. The award recognises the importance agriculture plays in the state and the positive impact it has on residents and the wider community. Last year's winner was selected from 119 nominations for 70 different towns across 8 regions. Entries close this Friday. Port Pirie Regional Council is calling for local artists to be a part of the world's biggest open access visual arts festival. The SA Living Artists Festival is returning to the region this month, with a feast for the eyes planned.
It's that time of year again.
Yeah, we're very excited. This year Port Pirie Regional Council is partnering with Sala as a regional partner for the first time.
The Sala Festival is coming to the region this month with 17 exhibitions creating a trail through Port Pirie, Warnertown and Crystal Brook.
We encourage anybody who has any interest in the arts to take part, submit some artwork from hobbyists to professionals to mid-career, kids of all ages. Yeah, we really want the whole community involved.
Port Pirie Regional Council is seeking artists and artisans to be a part of an event set to transform the streets of Crystal Brook with a bit of party flavour. They say there will be plenty for everyone to enjoy, with workshops available for the kids.
We'll be producing a series of work and we're going to, try and instill that love of art and exhibiting with the little ones.
Council reminding the community the festival program will be subject to the state's COVID restrictions.
With COVID, we're being very safety and health conscious, so people will be required to check in at all of those venues. We'll be monitoring SA Health for any changes and updates, and we'll update the community accordingly.
Sala's digital exhibition is online now. Katrina Musson, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Stay with us after the break. We have the highlights from the weekend's footy action in Broken Hill. And Ruby Kamane will have the latest weather details. Hello again. Broken Hill once again flew the footy flag for our region, as both matches had predictable outcomes. Lachlan Itter has the weekend wrap.
This time last week, we were talking about the game of the season here in Broken Hill. That certainly wasn't repeated this weekend. Neither of the games were what you'd call close matches. It was a battle of the birds at the Dube, the Robinson Magpies both coming off losses last weekend. Central have made a habit of coming out of the gate strong, Tyrone Grayson doing just that. West wasted their first opportunity at goal but were strong under pressure. The floodgates then opened, West leading by 3 goals at quarter time. That widened to 139 points by the final siren, Central scoring just 4 in the second half. Out at the Elmer, South came up against North, the Bulldogs confident after an impressive win last weekend. The Roos playing kick to kick, getting the ball quickly to their end of the oval, where they had no problems scoring on the run. South once again showing they're the team to beat, taking the win 127-32. Cody Shawn, the leading goal kicker, scoring more than the Bulldogs' entire side. After a 2-week hiatus, competitions in South Australia will kick off again this weekend.
Time now for a look at the region's weather. And Alex Sykes is away tonight, so a familiar face has come off the bench. Here's Ruby Kamane with the details.
Thanks, John, and we were certainly hit with some wet weather today. bringing us a rainy start to the week. From 3 p.m, Port Augusta reached a max of 18, Whyalla 17 degrees and Cooper Pedy got to a high of 16. Kadina, Port Lincoln and Woodner all hit the region's low of 13 degrees, Port Pirie 17, Broken Hill reached 18, while South Australia's capital got to 15 degrees. Taking a look at the satellite image now, clouds sweeping over South Australia with a strong cold front and trough is generating rain, gusty showers and storms, mainly in the south and east. Skies are mostly clear in the far north under a dry air mass. Moving on to tomorrow's weather outlook now, and we'll start with the Gulf waters. Winds northerly 15 to 20 knots, seas 1 to 1.5 metres, and south to southwesterly swell 1 to 1.5 metres. Earlier, there was a severe weather warning for parts of the state, as well as a wind and cold weather warning for sheep graziers. Looking at the temperatures now, Port Lincoln showers and 15 degrees, Cleeve a top of 13, reaching 15 in Woodner. Partly cloudy in Whyalla, expecting 16. Similar conditions in Port Augusta, also 16. Kadina showers and a top of 14. Showers also in Port Pirie, a max of 15. Clare a cool 10 degrees, and Broken Hill to reach a partly cloudy 14. Taking a look further through the week now, rainy and partly cloudy conditions set for Wednesday, 15 degrees in Adelaide, Kadina and Broken Hill. Port Augusta will have the region's top of 18 degrees. The weather not changing up that much on Thursday, showers and 16 degrees in Woodner and Port Pirie, Cooper Pedy and Whyalla both partly cloudy and 17. Looking out to Friday now, 15 degrees in Adelaide and Kadina, Whyalla and Woodner both 17, partly cloudy across Cooper Pedy, Port Augusta and Broken Hill. And that's all the weather from me for tonight. Alex Sykes will return tomorrow to bring you your weather forecast, but until then, it's back to you, John.
Thanks, Ruby. And that's the local news this Monday evening. Thanks for joining us. I'll have updates in Sunrise tomorrow, and Ruby will swap the weather for the news desk, joining you at 7 p.m. Have a great evening. Good night.